You are standing in a narrow street near the Tiber River in Rome, early morning, the year 1500, and the first thing that reaches you is the wet grit under your soles, a paste of mud ash, and something soft that gives slightly when you put your weight down. The stone walls on either side lean inward, stained dark where water has seeped and dried again. And the air sits low, heavy with the smell of old smoke, human waste, and animal fat gone cold. A cart scrapes past your shoulder without slowing, its wheel cutting a shallow groove through yesterday's refuse, and the man guiding it does not look at you. Above, laundry hangs motionless between windows, stiff with previous washings, dripping steadily onto the street below. Somewhere nearby, a pig roots loudly in a pile of scraps, its snout pushing aside what people stepped over in the dark hours before dawn. You feel bodies moving close behind you, close enough that breath and fabric brush your back, and no one adjusts their pace. A woman empties a bucket from an upper window. The splash lands just short of your feet this time, spreading outward in a thin stream that finds its own path downhill. Church bells begin to sound, not sharply, but as part of the background, like carts' voices. And coughing. The street does not clear for the day ahead. It thickens. The same ground remains underfoot, pressed flatter with every step, as the city wakes and continues. Stop 1. Campo di Fiori Market morning thickening. You are pushed into the open space of Campo di Fiori as stalls are already half assembled. The ground uneven underfoot where stones meet packed dirt darkened by last night's moisture. The square feels wider than the street behind you, but the bodies fill it quickly. Shoulders touching, baskets knocking against hips, elbows finding ribs without apology. Wooden tables sweat with moisture from vegetables pulled out before dawn, their leaves limp, their roots still carrying soil. Fish lie exposed on boards, eyes dull. Flies settling and lifting again as hands wave them off without urgency. Someone spits onto the ground beside your foot and steps forward, grinding it in without looking down. The smell shifts constantly as you move a few paces. Raw meat, wet rope, crushed herbs, animal droppings from carts waiting at the edge of the square. A knife slips while a vendor works and blood runs briefly over his fingers. He wipes it on his apron and continues cutting. Coins change hands, past mouth to palm to mouth again, the metal slick and warm. Water from a nearby fountain spills over its edge, forming a shallow channel that carries scraps away but leaves a damp film where you stand. Voices overlap, bargaining, arguing, calling prices, and the noise does not rise or fall. It stays level, pressing in, as the morning settles into its shape and holds. Stop 2. Public fountain late morning heat. You find yourself edged up against a public fountain fed by a tired stream of water, its stone basin worn smooth where thousands of hands have leaned in the same places. The sun has climbed high enough to trap heat between the surrounding buildings, and the air feels thicker here, damp and close. People crowd the rim, arms crossing, containers knocking together as they dip and fill without waiting for space to clear. Fingers slide through the water, stirring up grit settled at the bottom, and no one pauses when the surface clouds. A man rinses his mouth and spits directly back into the basin. Moments later, another lowers a jug into the same spot. You feel a shove at your back as someone reaches past you, their sleeve dragging through the water and then across your forearm. The stone under your feet is slick, darkened by constant overflow, and you adjust your stance without looking down. Nearby, a mule is led close enough to drink, its muzzle breaking the surface, foam spreading outward in slow rings. The fountain does not empty. It receives, laughter cuts through briefly, then fades into the steady scrape of sandals and the slosh of water against stone. When a container cracks and spills, the loss is ignored. The line closes in, the next hand's already moving forward, and the heat holds everything in place. Stop 3. Tenement stairwell midday shadow. You step into a shared stairwell cut deep into a block of housing, and the light drops away almost at once, replaced by a cool dimness that smells of damp wood and old breath. The steps are narrow and uneven, worn into shallow curves by years of feet moving up and down with loads balanced on shoulders and heads. People pass you in both directions without slowing, backs brushing the wall, hands sliding briefly along your arm to steady themselves. From one doorway, Steam rolls out as someone tips a pot of cloudy water onto the steps. It runs downward between your feet, carrying scraps of grain and grease. Higher up, a child squats on the landing, emptying himself into a corner already darkened by use, then pulls his tunic straight and disappears inside. The walls are marked where smoke from indoor fires has crept out and stained the plaster, and the air holds onto it. You hear coughing from above and below, not sharp, just persistent, part of the building's rhythm. A loose step shifts under your weight, but does not break, and you keep moving because there is no room to stop. The stairwell does not clear at midday. It absorbs everything and sends it downward, step by step, as the building continues to fill and empty around you. Stop 4. Alley by a tannery afternoon press. You are funneled into a narrow alley running behind a tannery, where the walls close in and the light turns yellow and flat. The ground is soaked through, soft in places, hard in others, and your boots stick briefly before pulling free. Large vats sit open along one side, their surfaces dull and skin-tight, stirred occasionally with long poles that drip back into the same liquid. Men move between them with rolled sleeves, splashing as they work, their bare arms streaked and darkened. A strip of hide is dragged across the alley, brushing your shin, leaving a smear that dries as you walk. The smell does not rise all at once. It builds layer by layer until it settles in your throat. Wastewater runs openly down the center, warm and slow, and you step across it because everyone does, even when it splashes your ankle. A dog laps at the edge and is kicked away without breaking the rhythm of the work. Overhead, scraps of leather hang from hooks, dripping steadily onto the path below. The alley does not empty in the afternoon. It stays busy, compressed, as carts wait their turn and the vats are filled again. The flow of work pressing forward without pause. Stop 5. Street shrine and doorway late afternoon lull. You pause near a small street shrine set into the wall of a residential lane, its paint flaking, its candles burning low even in daylight. The lane narrows here, forcing passers-by close to the doorway beside it, where a family's life spills partly into the street. A woman kneels to adjust a candle and then wipes her fingers on the stone, leaving a dark smear that others brush past. Someone else leans in to touch the shrine and then immediately lifts the same hand to his mouth. As he walks on, the air is warmer now, heavy with cooking smells drifting out of doorways. Oil and herbs mingling with the sourness rising from the gutter at your feet. A bucket is emptied nearby, the contents sliding along the shallow channel cut into the stone, carrying ash and scraps toward the main road. Children sit on the ground playing with bits of wood and string, their hands blackened, their legs pressed against the damp wall. When a cart squeezes through, everyone shifts at once, bodies turning sideways, breath held, then released. The candles flicker but do not go out. The lane resumes its shape, the shrine watching as the afternoon settles unchanged. Stop 6. Riverbank near the Tiber early evening drift. You stand along the riverbank as the light softens, the Tiber moving past at a steady pace, its surface broken by slow eddies and floating debris. The path beside it is crowded, narrower than it appears, with people stopping abruptly to unload baskets or rinse cloth, forcing others to step closer to the water's edge. The stones underfoot are slick with moisture and dark growth, and you place your feet carefully without stopping. Someone kneels to scrub a shirt against the rock, beating it flat, then lifts it dripping and lays it over a pile already damp. A few paces away, a man lowers a bucket into the river where another has just emptied the remains of a meal. The water takes it all and keeps moving. The smell here is cooler but persistent, carried low and close by the river air. Boats bump gently against one another, their hulls knocking in a dull rhythm that blends with voices and splashing. As the sun drops, the crowd does not thin. It rearranges, making room for evening tasks, the river continuing on, unchanged by what it carries. Stop 7. Interior street at dusk, lamps coming on. You move into a street where the light is fading fast, the buildings pulling the last of it out of the air. Oil lamps are being lit one by one, their flames small and uneven, throwing shadows that stretch and overlap across the walls. The street feels tighter now, not because it has changed, but because sight no longer reaches its edges. People pass close, their outlines brushing yours, the sound of fabric and breath clearer than faces. From an open doorway, smoke drifts low and thick, carrying the smell of cooked grain and burned scraps. It clings to your clothes as you walk through it. A man relieves himself against a wall without turning away from the street, and others step around him with practiced ease. Water from an earlier spill still runs along the gutter, reflecting the lamp light in broken lines, and you hear it before you see it. A door slams, another opens. Voices rise briefly and settle again. The lamps do not brighten the street. They only mark where movement continues, as the evening takes its place and holds. The street quiets without becoming empty. Footsteps spread farther apart, but they do not stop. Lamp flames shrink as oil runs low, their light turning softer, less defined, leaving more of the street to sound and shadow. Somewhere, a bell marks the hour, then fades into the low mix of water, coughing, and distant voices. The river continues to move beyond the buildings, unseen but present, carrying what it was given earlier in the day. As night settles, doors close and reopen, carts roll past more slowly, and the same ground remains underfoot, pressed flat and damp. The smells thin but do not leave. Tomorrow will begin here again, with the same walls, the same channels, the same movements repeating their course. One lamp goes out, another follows. The street holds its shape in the dark, and life continues, quietly,